While the Philippine-American War continues, the U.S. stages the St. Louis World's Fair of 1904. The Philippine Reservation is advertised as better than a trip to the Philippine Islands. It is America's first large-scale encounter with Filipinos on American soil, and it profoundly influences racial and cultural attitudes towards Filipinos for many generations.
You don't know, you don't know, you don't know my mind. You hear me talking, but you don't know my mind. And if you hear me laughing, yes, I'm laughing just to keep from crying.
The United States would use it to showcase the new territories and people that it had conquered, and it brought Filipino cultural minorities. They chose to present as a picture to the American people the so-called savages, and that pretty much helped rationalize why the United States was in the Philippines, to educate Filipinos and bring civilization.
Teddy Roosevelt officially declares the Philippine-American War over on July 4th, 1902. Not because the hostilities in the Philippines had actually concluded, but pretty much because the Americans at home didn't support the war anymore and they just wanted to be out of it. What the ideology of the 1904 St. Louis Fair was attempting to do was to exhibit the Filipinos as contained tableaus of American colonial liberation. So you had an Igorot village, and you had a Visayan village, and you had a Moro village, and you had representatives of these different groups, both the quote-unquote civilized Filipinos, who are represented mainly by the Visayans, and the so-called wild tribes. And these were the headhunters, and these were the dog eaters, and these were the people who had bare-breasted women, where the men wore G-strings, and wild dances, and ritual killings, and a lot of the kind of Orientalist exoticism to titillate the American audiences. The implicit argument of the Philippine Reservation was, here you have these wild tribes, and under American colonial tutelage, through Americanization, the wild tribes can move up to the status of these so-called civilized Filipinos. And then we can move the whole kit and caboodle closer to being like us, like Americans. But the other purpose of the Philippine Reservation is for the Filipinos to see how big and how powerful and how populated the United States was, and to carry back with them to the Philippines the message, you know, we might as well give up this whole Filipino-American war thing, because we're never going to win against the Americans. They're too big, they're too prosperous, they're too populated. They are just bigger in every sense of the word than we are. And we might as well just give up and become the kind of cooperative little brown brothers. Well, the problem with the success of the Philippine Reservation at the St. Louis World's Fair is that thousands and thousands of Americans who came to see the Philippine exhibition came away with a memory of Filipinos as being small, dark, naked, and savage, basically. This was the reality show of its time. This is the real deal.
The popular image then that would emerge in the mind of the American public would be these almost noble little brown brothers who are barely out of the jungle. And it would then help justify why the United States had to stay and help bring so-called modernization to the Filipino people. So later on, even in the debates to oppose Filipino immigration to the United States, a lot of these same images of uncouth, uncivilized, and uneducated Filipinos would be brought back again.